Hello everyone and welcome to another Minnie and Me session, our last of 2021. My name is Miss Katie and I'm going to be helping you make a cute little snowman painting. Now, before we start painting, we're going to need to draw and we're going to need to make sure that we have all of our supplies on hand ready to use. So first off, make sure if you got a kit from GCA, you have all of your colors 1 through 6 on your foam plate. Make sure you grabbed a cup and filled it full of water, a paper towel, and I want you to make sure you have at least 2 brushes on hand, 1 medium-sized wash brush or a large shader brush, and a round brush. You can also have a smaller brush on hand, like an in-between brush between these two, if you need that. But these are really all the 2 brushes you need. And you need to have a piece of chalk so you can start drawing. We're going to get started right now. We are ready to get started. Step number 1 involves your piece of chalk. We need to draw out our snowman before we start painting. So, very first thing, we're going to draw the snowman's head. When we do this, we want to keep it in the center from left to right and shift it down just a little bit slightly so that it's not perfectly in the center from top to bottom, but a little bit lower on our canvas. I'm going to start with 2 little dots. This is going to be for the left and the right side of our snowman's face. Then I'm going to connect these dots with a hill and a bowl to make that oval. So I'm going to start at 1 dot, make a nice big hill, end on that dot. Then I'm going to come underneath, make a bowl, and voila, I have my snowman's head started. Next, I'm going to go below and I'm going to make the scarf. We're going to make 2 curved lines that face each other, like parentheses, if you've learned about those at school. So I'm going to come right under here, make a curved line on each side, and that's going to be for the side of the scarf. Next, I need to make the knot for the scarf. So I'm going to make a big circle off to one side, okay? And that circle can go above where your scarf is going to be. Then I'm going to draw another curved line that connects the bottom 2 parts of my curved line. And there we go. I have the start of my scarf. Now, the scarf is not complete until I add the tails for the ends of the scarf. So I'm going to come in here and add 2 lines, 2 chunks going off of the bottom of the canvas. And now I have a cute little scarf. The only thing left to do to the bottom of the snowman is to add his chest or body. So I'm going to start right underneath where I left off on my scarf and make a big curved line that goes off of my canvas. I want my snowman to look cute and maybe a little bit fluffy. Now, let's turn our attention to the head. We're going to start with 2 curved lines facing each other one more time. I'm going to keep these fairly down low on his head. If we put them up high on his head, it's going to look like he has a very, very tiny hat and a very big head. So I'm going to keep these fairly low on the sides of his head. Then I'm going to make the brim for my beanie. Now I'm not going to just make a hill and a curved line. I'm going to make kind of a wavy line. Now that I'm done, bless me, I'm so sorry. Now that I'm done with that, I'm going to add the top of the beanie. So I'm going to make a nice, very tall hill. It's going to start somewhere on the brim of the beanie and go up and then come back down. And I have a cute little snowman who is dressed for winter weather. Now that we are finished, we're going to move on. Now remember, the reason we're using chalk is because if you make a mistake, you take a clean, damp brush and you smudge that mistake away. Okay, we're back with step number 2. We're going to whip out the white paint first. This is kind of a 2-part process on this step. We're going to paint in the snowman first and then we'll paint in the scarf. Now, I'm going to use my biggest brush, but if you're a little hesitant, when you're doing the outlines, you can use the round brush and then fill in with a bigger brush. Very first thing that we need to do is to fill in. Is to outline. So I'm going to kind of follow along on my chalk lines, outline certain areas, and then fill them in after I have my guideline. I'm using the very top edge of my brush, and I am going to create a nice curved line by twisting my brush slightly as I paint. Okay, so let me finish this curved line. Now remember, you need to go into all the nooks and crannies. So when we get to that scarf, you go around it, kind of jumps over the knot of the scarf. And you're also going to do all of these little areas on the snowman's body where you have to kind of bob and weave in and out of, or out in and out in between the scarf and the scarf's tails. Okay, I have the white on my snowman's body outlined. The rest is going to be our kind of pinkish color for the snowman's accessories. So I'm going to take more paint on my brush. I'm going to use the flat part of my brush, and I'm going to start filling in. Now this is going to take me a while, so I'm going to speed up the video. You take your time, do a good job, and stay inside your lines as much as you can. If you don't stay perfectly inside your lines, it's not the end of the world. We can fix it later. Now, this is going to take 2 layers. So what I'm going to do is do it 1 layer. And it's going to be a nice even layer. It doesn't have to be super thick. And let it dry. We'll move on to the pink, and then we can always come back and add that second layer of white. Okay, I'm going to speed up the video. Okay, we should have all of the white finished. Now, make sure you clean out your brush really well. You swirl, tap it, and dry it on your paper towel. And go ahead and put the lid back on color number 1 because we'll use that color quite a bit coming up. Break open color number 2. It's time to paint in our scarf and our hat. We're going to do the same exact thing that we did on the snowman, okay? And that means we're going to start with some paint on the tip of our brush. We're going to use it to outline things first, following your chalk lines, and then filling things in. Now, remember, you can always rotate your canvas so that you can get to areas a little bit easier, okay? So, where that hat meets up to that snowman's head, make sure you go right up to it. You don't want to leave anything in between. This line is going to disappear, as well as all of our other lines. We'll put those in later, okay? So don't worry too much if they disappear. We'll put those in later. So go ahead and outline everything and then fill it in. Again, we might have to use 2 layers of paint, but be patient and build slowly. I'm gonna speed up the video now. Okay, when you're finished, we're ready to move on. Make sure that you clean out your brush before you go back over any white. I'm gonna do another layer of white and possibly another layer of pink as well. So you can just repeat the process, the steps that we just did. Remember to stay inside your lines, and you'll get some of that blue covered up on that second layer of paint when you start adding it. Do you notice the difference already between this side of my snowman's face and the right side? Another layer goes really far. So add another layer if you need to, and then you'll be ready to move on to the next step. All right, we are gonna move on to the next step, and that involves putting some features onto our snowman. We're gonna put eyes, carrot nose, and kohl for the mouth. Now you need to make sure that your canvas is dry before you do this step. If it's not dry, no worries. Take a break, pause the video, and go grab a drink of water, pet your puppy, whatever you'd like to do. Once you're ready, you're gonna come back and you're gonna grab your round brush. Make sure you get it a little bit wet and then pat it dry so that it has a nice point to it and it is ready to draw. Now, because we're putting this on our white snowman, our white chalk isn't going to be very helpful. If you need to, you could try using a pencil, but I don't recommend it unless you absolutely need to. Instead, we're going to use our paint to draw in the snowman's feature. Now, if you make a mistake, I'll show you what to do. You can erase, and remember, if all else fails, paint covers paint. We're gonna put in the kohl for the mouth first. I'm gonna start in the center, and I'm gonna start with one circle. I'm using the top edge of my brush to paint on a circle and then fill it in. Don't press very hard, and you'll have a nice small line and a circle that you can fill in. Okay, now if you make a mistake, see how I went a little out? It's not the end of the world. You can either leave it, or you can take a clean, damp brush and you do this little back and forth motion. Brush, brush, brush. You start on the outside and you move that paint inside. See how you can take it off? If I need to, I could take the whole thing off, but it would take a little bit of work on my part. And I like my circle, so I'm gonna leave it. You can then use a paper towel to pad it dry if you have extra water standing on your canvas. So remember, that's how you can erase if you need to. You can also do touch-ups by going around it with white paint. It might take a little bit, but you can do it. Okay, so I'm going to continue adding this kohl for my mouth, and you can add as many circles or as few circles as you want. Now, if you move these circles up as they go to the side, it'll look like your snowman is smiling, which I think is pretty cool. If you're having trouble using your paint, remember, dip your paintbrush in water, mix it into the paint before you put it on the canvas, and it should glide on the canvas a little bit easier and not fight you so much. Okay, so I have kohl for my snowman's mouth. And then I'm going to move on to his eyes. Now, his eyes can be very simple. They can just be kohls as well. Kohl for eyes and kohl for mouths, for the mouth. Or you can make it a little bit more complex. So if you're doing the kohl eyes, just make bigger circles and you're good to go. If you want to make it a bit more complex, then follow along with me right now. We're going to put lines first, and they're going to be kind of as if they are lines on a hill. They're slanted and curving a little bit. And then, after we have those lines, we're gonna put very tall and thin hills on top. Try to make sure that they are about the same size and about the same height. I didn't do a very good job of that, but that's okay. You can always add and subtract. And if all else fails, erase. The erasing is kind of our last ditch effort to make things work. Okay, and then fill it in. Okay, we have a really cute snowman. Now, as you are painting, check in. Make sure that you have enough room for this carrot nose. We're gonna grab color number 4, and we're going to paint in the carrot nose. We're gonna start with a curved line. It almost looks like the letter C. And then we're going to put a big triangle. Now, I just did something silly. So this is going to be one of those moments where you can see the teacher fix her mistake. I put the end of the carrot nose underneath an eye. That carrot nose needs to end in between his eyes. So I'm going to erase. I can go back over with white and do some touch-ups if I need. This is why you start with really dry canvas and don't be like your teacher and start on wet canvas, because it makes it harder to erase. Okay, so gonna do my touch-up really fast. My snowman is no longer orange. Woohoo! And we're gonna put that carrot nose back in. So the C needs to go right in between the snowman's eyes. Don't be like your teacher. So the C is gonna be right in between the snowman's eyes so that the carrot nose starts right in between his eyes. And then you're going to make 2 long diagonal lines that end in a point. And that point can end wherever you'd like. The longer the point, the bigger the carrot. Okay, then fill in your carrot with solid orange paint, and you have a really cute snowman. Look at him, he's adorable. Okay, we're ready to move on to the next step. Okay, this step is all about details. We have the basis of our snowman in. Now we are going to use color 5 and color 6 to make some details. Color 5 is a gray, and that's going to be what we use to put details inside our coal. And then color number 6 is a lighter version of the hat that we are painting. So we're going to take our round brush, we're going to grab some of our gray, and we're going to put just little highlights inside the eyes. After you've done a little bit of highlight, if you want, you can come in with white and add even more. That's an optional step. I think it would look even better with just a little bit of white. You can even take a little bit of white paint and a little bit of color number 5 and mix them together to make a lighter version on your canvas, and then use that to highlight. Okay, so you get to choose what you think looks best. I like to have just a little bit of a white outline right on one side of each eye. Okay, so after you have that done, you can start outlining all of the parts of your hat and your scarf. And we're gonna do that with color number 6. I am going to go back and outline all of those lines that we made in chalk at the very beginning of the video. So there's the knot of the scarf, the edges of our scarf, the tails of our scarf, and then of course we can't forget the most important part, the brim of his beanie. And remember, it was kind of wavy, it wasn't perfect. And after you have these important parts outlined, you can come back in and add even more details. For instance, if you want to put a pattern on your snowman's scarf and hat, you can, like a polka dot pattern, a striped pattern, or you can keep things fairly simple and just focus on the details of the fabric. So what I mean by that is that beanies are scrunchy on the brim of the hat. So I would put all of these little lines to show that the material is bunched up. Okay. And the scarf, I want to put like a little highlight on the knot and a little highlight maybe on the tails. And wherever else I think is good. Okay. So after you have those little details, you can put them wherever you want. You can add as many or as few as you want. You are done with our detail step. The only other thing that you could do if you want is that you could take some of this color number 6 and add a highlight on the carrot nose. That's optional. Not everybody likes that, so you don't have to worry about it if you don't like it. Okay, clean out your brush and then we're ready to move on. Okay, we have a beautiful snowman. He's pretty much done, but the background is kind of boring. So let's make this snowman really interesting and dynamic by putting him on a darker background with snowflakes. So I'm going to use color number 5, which is that gray, for the background to make it a little darker, and then I'll use my very first color, color number 1, titanium white, for the snowflakes. Now, I'm going to use my round brush for this step, and I am going to show you a really cool technique. It's a technique we may not have covered in the past. We're going to add water to our paint. You can do that on your plate or the lid of your cups, and we're going to add water and mix it in so that we make a really watered down paint. The more water you add to paint, the more transparent it will become. So what that means is when you put it on a canvas or a piece of paper, you can see through it. So I'm going to take that very watered down paint that I've mixed up. I'm going to mix up a lot of it. And I'm going to use it to outline and go around my snowman. And then I can bring it out. And as I bring it out, it becomes more and more transparent. I kind of run out of paint, and it lets the background or underpainting show through. The reason we're doing this is because we want it to look like the snowman is kind of outside towards the end of the day when the light is nice and low. And we also want to make him pop a little bit. Now, if you go too crazy with your paint and you just end up covering up all of the blue, remember you can erase, okay? You can erase by taking a clean damp brush, going back and forth, and erasing that paint and lifting some of it up. I'm going to very quickly, and speed up the video, outline my snowman. Remember, we're using really watered down paint, so it's letting some of the underpainting show through. Okay, I'm gonna speed up the video now. All right, all finished with the background. Of course, you can make it a little darker if you want. This is your painting, so you can always come in here and darken certain edges, make it a bit darker, try to blend or fade the paint out as you go out, or you can keep it a little lighter and just work with that glaze. So there are options, and remember, you can make the painting look however you'd like, because it is your painting after all. Okay, once you have the background done, we're going to move on to our snowflakes. And our snowflakes are going to be done in the white paint. Make sure you mix a little bit of water into them. And these snowflakes can be anything you want. The only thing I would suggest is that you make a variety of snowflakes. So that means you vary the size and you vary the shape. So for instance, I can make some really, really tiny snowflakes that are just simple, straightforward snowflakes. You make a plus sign and then you put an X through it. Or I can make some bigger snowflakes where I do different sized lines and then I put little V's on the ends of the lines. Or I can put lines inside. You can do all sorts of fun things, okay? You have fun making your snowflakes. Make as many as you want or as few. I'm gonna make quite a few, and I'm gonna make quite a few big ones and quite a few small ones on both sides of my snowman. And I'm also going to make sure that I have some going off the side. So again, just make sure you make a variety of snowflakes, some big, some small, and then you are finished. So once you're happy with your snowflakes, you only have one thing left to do, and that's to sign your snowman and also to name him. After all snowmen need names. And then also find a good place to put your snowman in your home. I hope you enjoyed painting today, and I hope your snowman turned out wonderful. Have a very good Christmas and a Happy New Year. Bye.